Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Testing. 1. Okay, things sound good. So it's been 3 months, but I've decided to do a gorilla, and as I'm a little bit flitty, I'm not sure about what type of stream I wanted to do, so I put it as Guerilla, but it turns out I totally did want to read this after all. Sometimes I would schedule a reading stream in the past and then not feel like it, but then force myself to do it anyways. So from now on, I might just add gorillas to the schedule, and then it will be whatever is in the mood for today. And last time we stopped, it was page 116, and I'll continue from here. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and more sonus as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. So, if I remember correctly, this is the picture of the birds, and I have that somewhere in my notes. Okay, 116. If I go to page 900, I think that's where the pictures are. Not this one, not that one. Okay, there we are. So, whoop, not that one. Oh, there's a lot of pictures here. Yeah, so I put my bread in the oven, and, okay. So here, as a metaphor for consciousness, there is the bird that is engaging in the fruits of the labor, eating of the fruits, and then there is the observing bird, which represents Krishna or God or the self, who's watching the other bird eat. Okay, now going back to page 116. Although the two birds are not of the same tree. Oh, hello, Angela Monster. It's glad to see you again. Oh, one of my screens just died. Okay, it came back. Now, if you haven't gotten the book open, that's okay. You can take your time doing that, or just read from the book on the screen. Now, continuing onward, but if in some or other he turns his face to his friend, who in the Lord and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. So, not focusing on the potential material gains or fruits and focusing on God does help ease the suffering and become free from all anxieties. Now, it does sound like something that's possible, but in my experience in practice, it's a little bit hard to do, as I'm the type who gets very invested in whatever activity's happening, who gets sad or rageful or overjoyed depending on the results of the activity. So this is a challenging thing for me to do. Not necessarily hard, but challenging. Arjuna is advised here with and is Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. Oh yeah, I have to leave stream to get the bread out of the oven once that beeps. But when I hear that, that should be in about maybe 40 minutes or something. Anyways, I'll just continue until then. I got mangoes beside me. I'm eating these delicious mangoes. Anyway, oh, my latency is quite good compared to how it usually was. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. So yeah, people are growing older, their bodies change, and then death, of course, changes the body too. He should be rather happy to kill their bodies in a righteous fight, so that they may be cleansed at once from all reactions from various bodily activities. So in this context, Arjuna's grandfather Bhishma and his teacher Drona have incurred sin from taking bribes and money from Duryodhana, who has some degree of corruption. And because they have subsisted on his charity, they feel obligated to fight for him, even though they know it is against justice or dharma. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. And this applies, I believe, specifically to the Kshatriyas, that their duty is to fight and defend their territory and people. And in return for that, they receive things such as gear, material, weapons of war, food, the ability to rule others, the ability to not work if they choose. But in exchange for all that, they have to act as soldiers and they cannot refuse to fight. Let's see. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. You know what? I'm going to add a little bit of a reminder note to self here. I need to add a text. I want to remind myself, add a text box, add BGM to reading portions. There we go. Okay, I'll just add that here and go back. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. All kinds of weapons, swords, flames, rains, tornadoes, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons. Oh, okay, I don't know about this. I think he's just like the commentator is kind of going off track here. But anyways, informally, there are other weapons made of all different kinds of material elements. Firearms were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul. Oh, so no Horcruxes, I guess. The Maya body, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by illusory energy. Now my throat has gotten a bit parched, so I'll take another bite of a mango. And a sip of water. Because they are atomic individual souls, Sanatana eternally, they are prone to be covered by illusory energy. So Maya is, in this book, a demon of illusion, and at some point the main characters get this creature to make a palace for them that they live in. And there's a lot of illusions in the palace, like there's a floor that looks like a pool of water, so people are scared to go in it, but you can walk on top of it. I think it's made of like blue marble or something, so that's very funny. And then there's a pool of water that looks like a floor, so when people step into there, they fall and get wet. And that's a bit of a prankish situation. So that's Maya, the architect of illusion. Oh yes, and also doors that look like walls that you can walk through, and then walls that look like doors where you walk in and bang your head. And thus they become separated from the association of Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of the fire, although one in quality with the fire are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In Vata Purana, the living entities are described as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So even after being uh, liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Yeah, so as again, the commentator makes sure to emphasize the difference between impersonal and personal religious beliefs. So the impersonalists believe that after death, in the afterlife, everyone melts into a giant soup and rejoins the original soul and loses their individuality. Now, personalists, which are the great majority of people, believe that after death, a person retains their individual personality in the afterlife and goes to one of many places like heaven or hell. And in those places, they remain individual people. And they may not remember things from a previous life, but they are individual people and not giant melting pots, which the commentator describes as spiritual suicide. However, there are quite a number of impersonalists among the New Agers, which I find interesting since it seems the impersonalist doctrine is. I'm not sure which one is older, personalist or impersonalist. But, anyways, so here he's talking about how he received knowledge from Krishna but did not become one with Krishna, as that would mean, well, dying and giving your energy to him, like the impersonalists want to do. Translation: This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, all pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Okay, I was just checking my audio quality. Everything seems to be in order. Now, this individual, all these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. So again, the purporter is, or translator is talking about the existence of the soul and how it can't be destroyed, even though they're killing each other in a war. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spoke in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. The word Sarvagata, or pervading, is significant because there's no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on the land and in the water and the air, within the earth and even within fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned with fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the Sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. Okay, so here the author is talking about how he believes that there is life on the Sun, which is entirely possible. We can't, we've not, from what we've seen of the Sun, we haven't, like, well, we can't even harvest energy in the Sun with a Dyson sphere yet. So it wouldn't be surprising to see some form of life that we don't know about that could exist in the sun, as it does give out a lot of energy, and energy is a prerequisite for life. Therefore, there is no doubt that they are living entities. Okay, if the sun globes uninhabited, the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. Translation: it is said the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable, unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. I think I'm going to read this page and then I'm going to check on my bread. As described previously, the magnitude of the soul is so small for material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope, therefore he is invisible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish its existence experimentally beyond the proof of scrutiny or Vedic wisdom. So I've been for the past month attempting to do streams around nighttime, my time. But the problem with that is that well, I'm sleepy, so I go to sleep. And it's weird because when I use a lot of electronic devices, I stay up late and I'm awake at night. But then, like, when I cut back on the devices, I become a morning look again. So I keep shifting from night out to morning look. And as a morning person, I go to sleep really early. So the previous 9 p.m. EST time for me is I don't think that's viable anymore. So I'm gonna try around this time, the noon time or afternoon time, and see how that goes. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon ability. We have to accept this truth because there's no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is affected by perception. There are many things you have to accept solely on the grounds of superior authority. I don't know too much about those listen and believe statements. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no other source of understanding the identity of the father. Oh yeah, I don't think DNA test existed for paternity test when the translator was alive. Similarly, there is no other source of understanding of soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable of human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness, and consciousness that is also a statement of the Vedas. And we have to accept that. Okay, I think I'm going to disagree with that because while like studying does like help in that case, there's a lot of other experiences where a person could potentially go through a life changing experience and get to know Krishna or God in that way. But yeah, studying is one of the avenues. There's also the physical activity of devotional service or fighting for just cause, and then the chance that a person may go through a religious experience, sometimes involuntarily, and gain knowledge of the soul that way. And that's not necessarily a drug field experience. Sometimes it can be brought about by other changes, um, or simply spontaneously without any known factors. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. As eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite supreme soul. Oh yeah, so the soul, according to some theories, cannot technically be born or die, and that makes it unchangeable. And the supreme soul is infinite, the atomic soul is infinitesimal. Therefore, the infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul. All the supreme personality of Godhead, this concept is repeated in the Vedas in different ways just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. Oh yeah, and then a lot of text can be lost to the passage of time, so if somebody repeats something, there's more of a chance that that portion of the text will be preserved. And I'm going to check on my bread now. We're on page 120. know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put the loading background screen. If I put that, that might have been a bit better. Okay, I'm gonna check my audio is working. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. It's working. I just saw it on the thing. Ever since that one presentation I did, the last stream I did a stream about the AI flavor. And the problem with that, the AI out, is that half the stream I was muted and I didn't realize it. So from now on, I'm a little bit more on the edge about checking the volume. Okay, so where were we? If, however, you think that the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament. Oh, mighty armed. So, mighty armed in this circumstance, Krishna is talking to Arjuna that he wields many weapons and his arms are strong. So that's what he's calling him. There's always a class of philosophers almost akin to the Buddhists, and this is the, what's it called, the translator talking. I don't remember if Buddhism existed historically during the time the Mahabharata was written. I'm a little bit iffy on the history there. But, yeah, so he says, almost akin to the Buddhists who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. Yeah, so, if you've, anyone who's hung out in, like, spiritual spaces or had discussions with, like, people may have met the New Age type who insists that Buddhism is an atheist philosophy and not a religion, even though, well, it fits all the definitions of a religion with, worship of deity, classification as a church in some states in the United States. What's it called? They have canonical scriptures and texts, worship practices. So it is a bit weird, but yeah, there is like a subclass or subsection of Buddhist worshippers who are somehow atheists. And I think that's what he's talking about. But in my experience, the majority of Buddhists are religious and theists, and they are not atheists. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as Lokayatikas and Vibhasikas. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but whatever. Now, from what I understand, at some point the Hindu authorities canonically designated Buddha as a incarnation of Vishnu. I'm not sure how much of that was practical to try to like ease tensions between religious communities, and how much of that was like actually based on some form of religious study or logic. Um, Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing to ease religious tensions between groups who could, like, kill each other. But whether or not Buddha is an incarnation of Vishnu, I don't think I really care that much about the subject. But it is a little interesting to ponder. I don't really know that much about the Buddha. But anyways, while we're talking about the subject, he mentioned it, I'll just continue. These philosophers maintain their life symptoms or soul takes place at a certain mature condition of material combination. Uh, I think that means they think the soul is born at birth or perhaps in the womb at some point. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage of life, symptoms develop by interaction. Oh yeah, so there's a lot of those tech bro types who have embraced other religions like the Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, and a lot of the like the Reddit atheists and Reddit atheist adjacent crowd like Buddhism, but they don't like the religious aspects, so they go into like some sort of atheist Buddhism type of mode. And they also like the material science, chemical element stuff. So science, but science as dictated without God in it. They don't like the history of God in science, so they like the more modern type of science that doesn't really talk about that and is more agnostic of a science. The science of anthropology is based in this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo-religions now becoming fashionable in America also adhere to this philosophy, as well as nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Veda philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments the. Oh, yes, Angela Monster said, welcome back. Well, thanks, I'm glad to be back from my short break of checking my bread. It should be ready in about 10 minutes or so. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stops discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, the modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhasika philosophy, the so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the conclusion that there is an atomic soul, or whether he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he has no reason to lament. Yeah, so it's more repetition of what was previously discussed. Now, repetition is also useful. For example, you took a 3-month break and you come back to the stream and you're kind of confused about, okay, where did I leave off and what are they talking about? So this repetition that the translator is doing is a good refresher. According to this theory, since there's so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, so many of them being vanquished every moment, there's no need to grieve for such an incident. That is, I would classify as a what do you call that? That thing where you insult something to diminish its value, not nagging, but like there's something like detachment or something like when you're afraid of attaching to something, so you insult it. That's insulting theory. Oh yeah, so there's another book I was reading that was talking about the difference between unattachment or non-attachment and detachment. So apparently there's attachment where you're very possessed by something, and if it gets destroyed or dies, you get very sad, which is a normal reaction, but it shouldn't like propagate too much. At a certain point, you have to move on. And then there's non-attachment, which is in the middle ground, where you engage in activities and things, but if they go away or reject you for whatever reason, then you move on. And then detachment, where you refuse to engage in activities and you insult things out of a sense of superiority complex. And that's what this oh, because people are dying every second, I don't care if someone close to me dies type of thing that ignores the personal element. Like if you have a personal connection with someone or something and they are destroyed or they die, then yeah, that personal connection makes that person important to you, even if there are millions of other versions of that person in like in the world or people like that person or the parallel universe thing that many cartoons and TV shows are doing nowadays, as is the trend. So yeah, if something personal to you dies, that's important, even if there's many different versions of that thing or many people who are very similar to that thing. Where did I leave off at after my tangent? No reason to be affected by sinful reactions due to. However, since he was not risking the rebirth of the soul, so in this case, Arjuna killing for the sake of religious dharma or justice is not risking the rebirth of his soul and not incurring sin. Juna had no reason to be afraid of being affected with sinful reactions to his killing his grandfather and teacher. I think at some point he does pay a karmic price, and Krishna can avoid karma but chooses to also pay a karmic price for his role in the war as a strategic advisor and charioteer. And his logic, or the logic of the priest, is that, well, if he did not pay the karmic price and try to escape karma, then which he can, that's within his power. Then other people may try to copy him and try to also escape karma with disastrous results. So he accepted the price to pay for the war, and that was okay. That price was getting shot in the ankle by a hunter and then choosing to pass on instead of continuing, and then his entire race becoming hedonist and then dying in a civil war. So those were the prices to pay for that. He upheld Dharma at the cost of his bloodline. Well, I think like a few of his descendants survive, like a few men and women, but for the most part, the Yadava race that Krishna is a part of does not exist anymore. At the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, mighty because he at least did not accept the theory of Vaibhasikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. I don't know what reference that is, I may have missed it. As a Kshatriya or as a warrior, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. Oh, I guess I highlighted this. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, the unavoidable discharge of the duty you should not lament. One has to take birth according to one's activities in life. After one finishes a term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, the cycle of birth and death, is revolving, one after the other without liberation. The cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war, but at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshet, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. So it turns out clicking the highlighted portion of the text brings you to the top of the page, which is kind of annoying. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid or grieve of the death of his relative, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. All created beings are unmanifest in their begetting, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? And I am going to check my audio again. Yes, everything seems good. Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul. There is no cause for lamentation, and one not believing in the soul, there is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom, yet even if, for argument's sake, we accept the atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From the subtle state of manifestation comes manifestation, just as from ether, air is generated from air, fire is generated from fire, water is generated, and from water, earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestations take place. Take, for example, a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in the course of time, things are manifested, unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what causes therefore lamentation, either in the stage of manifestation or unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and the end, all elements remain unmanifested, and only in the middle are they manifested. So when something starts in the imagination, you get an idea to do something that's unmanifested, you do the thing or you build the thing and you get either works or it fails. So let's say you want to build a clay pot, you get the pot, or you want a lot of money, so you work hard and you get the money. So that's the manifestation after the hard work. And then after a while, the money is spent either by you or descendants, or the government takes it away, or whatever you built eventually crumbles to dust over hundreds of years, and maybe you knock it off the table and it shatters in a day. So that becomes unmanifested. So at the beginning, it's unmanifested. In the middle, it exists, and then at the end, it's a memory. It's unmanifested again. And this does not make any real material difference. That reminds me of the fourth dimensional talk, where an object is, from its birth to its death, considered a single, what's it called? A single object. So if you took a video and you took the entirety of the video from the start of the video to the end of the video, then that's like that would be a fourth dimensional object, where it's like a seed and a tree, and then it's a firewood or whatever the tree ends up being when it decays. Its mulch is all a single object, and that would be a hypothetical fourth dimensional object. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Antanavanda Imedeha, I don't know what that means, and these material bodies are perishable in due course of time, Nityasyokta Salindrina, but that soul is eternal, then we must remember always the body's like a dress, therefore why lament the changing of a dress? Okay, once we get to this part, I'm going to check on my bread again. But this time, I hope I'll remember the loading screen. The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. Oh, give me a second. Okay, testing, testing. I believe it is time to be back. Oops, there goes my thing. Anyways, my bread is ready, so I'll show the bread on the screen. Where did my mouse go? First, let's see. I want to check. I have to upload this from my phone to the computer. Alright, go to the upload app, go to the upload app, and then we'll raid someone so I can eat. Let's see. Litter box, select or drop files, photo library, add it, and then I have to go to the URL. So, litter dot catbox x u dot jpeg. Then I'll take a screenshot of the picture. And I'll have to go to snips. Oop, my screen died again. Okay, it's back. It's having a bit of an iffy connection. Save. And then I'll have to add an image source. Browse. Okay, so there's the bread as a little preview for the stream before I tweet about it. Oops, there goes my screen, keeps going in and out. Oh, Angela said, how is your bread? Oh, good. Well, I'm not sure how it tastes yet. I'm going to cut it open after waiting the prescribed period of 10 minutes for the bread to cool. Some people wait 20 minutes or something, but I'm not that patient. So I'll just wait for that. And in the meanwhile, I'll do a little bit of a silent raid because I don't like attracting too much attention. So I'm just gonna check if anyone is live that I know. Was it one of the, I don't remember, it's one of the, what's it called? Link to members, it was live a bit ago. Cold North. I'm not sure if she's still live or not. I'm gonna search on the Twitter because YouTube search is just giving me weather. Okay, I found it. Let's see, is this person still alive or not? Oh. Yeah, okay, so I'll put, copy link. I'm not sure what type of a stream this is, but, I'll put it here. So, raid, this person, and that's Codex North from, linked. Okay, I'll be ending the stream now, and I'll put the loading BGM back. You probably have a different loading and ending stream BGM, but that is the case. Okay, bye-bye. And, where did we leave off? Page 150. No, 124. We stopped. Okay. And I should, where's this?